Hi, everybody. This is Kara Thrasher Livingston with SDS Training, along with Delight Mills, Kat Soa Lipinskis, Damon Silva, and Cassandra Lynch. All of our team combined, our training and care coordinator liaison team, ready here to talk with you about the latest and greatest for provider info share. Welcome to you. And most people really already know how our info share works. You are able to go ahead and chat to us using your text function. You can open up a little chat area where by clicking on the orange square with the white arrow inside, and you should see a box open up that says questions or maybe chat or text or something like that. And that is how you can write in comments to us, and we'll be able to pick them up and answer them as we go. I'm showing our actual agenda right now, and we'll just go down the line and talk about these different things. And you're certainly more than welcome to put in a text just to say hello or to test it. And I would actually love to see everybody say hi in the text area if you can. Just say hello to us and tell us where you are, or maybe how the weather is where you are. And right now here it's sunny in Anchorage, and that's awesome. Hello to you in Wasilla. Uh, Thank you for chatting into us. Just to test and see that's available to you. Go ahead and do that. You are muted. Your audio is muted, so you'll need to text in your comments to us. And most folks, yeah, it is beautiful in Anchorage. Thank you. Most folks know that we do place these recordings on our YouTube channel after they're ready. So if somebody, a colleague or somebody who signed up has missed the meeting, that's no big deal. You can go check out the recording. Likewise, this isn't the only time that you have to interact with us as a provider group. We also have provider weekly office hours, and that is where we welcome all provider types to an office hour within a Zoom. So that really helps. We love to see us use that. Okay, so let's talk about these items on our agenda, and our team will chime in as we go and add information from their expertise as well. First one here says, notice of proposed amendments to 1915C waivers and request for public input. So it's interesting. I'm going to go ahead and open this up and see if I can get a new link out here going for us. But when we say amendments to waivers, what we're talking about is just like a person has a waiver, SDS must also apply to Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, for the permissions and the rules around running waivers. So SDS has to apply to amend the waivers that we administer, the waivers we run, and the services that are provided by, all of our community partners, meaning our provider base. There may be new services, there may be different rules around them, there might be different rules about people getting them and things like that. But when we say an amendment to a waiver, 1915C waiver, we're talking about on the state level. We literally have to apply to renew our waivers every 5 years. And if we want to amend them, then we have to apply to amend. And when that happens, we have the civic engagement process going on, which is stakeholder engagement and input, public input, so that we can make sure that we understand what people want us to do with our waivers, and that we are following rules about waivers coming from CMS when we actually change things. If it involves regulatory change, that's kind of the same circle, our stakeholder engagement, public comment, and then regulations, proposed regulations, then engagement and comment. I'm just trying to say interacting with people affected by the rules and the regs, and then they become final. So what this is a notice of proposed amendments requesting for public input. So the waivers that we're proposing to amend are IDD, APDD, CCMC, and ISW. Briefly, the proposal contains new forms of out-of-home residential services for IDD, APDD, and CCMC. When it says modification of ResHab, that's because our out-of-home residential HAB services are all underneath our ResHab reg. So new provider types, specialized family home habilitation and specialized group home habilitation. And it's specifically to serve people who experience needs for high levels of support. So people who need complex and coordinated supports for everyday life, a very a category which we've been challenged to serve. So we're hoping to serve more people who have needs for support like this and circumstances like this by creating these provider types. And then for IDD, APDD, CCMC, and ISW, allowing legally responsible individuals, meaning you're the guardian, power of attorney, parent, somebody who has a legal responsibility for that person to provide in-home supports under these waivers as the HAB service and supported living. Okay, under specific circumstances. There's different pieces of the reg around that. But the proposed changes are in the notice, and of course it tells you how to interact and how to get in touch with us and tell us what your thoughts are about the changes. And there's a couple of webinars coming out. One of them is tomorrow, and you would register and participate in that. If you wanted to route it to your individuals and families, that would be okay too. All are welcome. So Wednesday and Thursday, there's ResHab, and Thursday there's a legally responsible individual. And then the attachments are here. So I'm not going to click on them, but you can definitely get to that through this document, which we have placed in our handouts in this actual webinar handout section. Now, if you can't pick up the handout, don't worry, because you might be on a device that doesn't really do downloads or accept the handouts, and a lot of the tablets and phones don't do that. That's okay. Or maybe even your regular computer doesn't do it. Don't worry about that. We can email this to you. We'll email you the handout so that you can get the links to these things. But it's
Hey,
really great
Kara,
to, yeah, go ahead.
you can also find them on our main website, but they're in like an unusual spot. So if you wouldn't
Okay.
mind taking us to it, that could be really helpful because it's not in our usual spot where you find regulations because they're
Uh-huh.
not our regs. These are like they call them the base waivers with CMS. So
Mm-hmm.
they're in a different spot on our
Mm-hmm.
SDS
Okay.
page. So if you
Sure.
want to look at them closer, because they have them posted and then they've highlighted the areas that they're looking at
Mm-hmm.
changing.
Okay. Let me see if I can back out of here, and it's going to be nice to me and catch up with me. If it's not going to catch up with me, that's okay too. It's not catching up with me, but that's all right. Let me find the website. That will not be hard to do and show. Just give me a sec. I'm
No
getting
worries.
there.
Sorry. And if you need me to share my screen, I
Yeah,
can do that
I gotcha.
too. Oh,
Okay.
thanks.
I believe this is our main page.
Yeah.
All right. Let me change it so that I can move it up here. Okay. So where should we go?
If you go to the far right side, the long column of lists here,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to
Mm-hmm.
scroll all the way to the bottom and then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to click under of interest. There is AK HCBS waivers. Very specific. And then you can see here's all this information.
Mm-hmm.
I assume you all are on e-alerts. You've gotten a ton of e-alerts about all of these different processes. The e-alert that came out, Kat, was it today? Was it yesterday? The most recent
It
e-alert
was
is like
today. It was
Mhm.
it's the mega list of all the things coming.
Mhm. That's good. Really good to know. So you can find it right from our website. Thank you, Delight. That's awesome.
How do they
You can
sign
find
up
our
for
waivers.
e-alerts? Like, okay.
Oh, if you go down to of interest again at the very bottom, you can
Mhm.
see there's a all caps sign up for e-alerts. And then it's like
Mhm.
a listserv that you will get notices of different actions that are happening, different situations that are
Mhm.
coming up that we need to contact providers right away. It's a really good idea to stay informed. It also we use it to circulate information about different educational opportunities and different processes that are happening.
Mhm.
It's a really helpful tool.
Mhm.
But definitely go to the waiver, like excuse me, to the webinar go-to sessions because they're designed to give you kind of the like a short lesson on the situation, and then well they're going to ask questions to you about, you know, like because we want your feedback because we're trying to get it right, and we won't get it right if we don't get your participation. You
Mhm.
have the most, I mean, you're doing the work, so you have some of the best and most creative ideas and thoughtful approaches to a lot of these rules. So any chance that you can participate in this public input process, this is like the first step we have before we do the more structured regulatory process. This is much more open than when we get into those really structured uh,
Mhm.
commenting processes.
Okay. So there are those changes coming. You can get them from the website. There will be 2 webinars. One of them will be to explain the new provider types for residential and the focus on serving people who experience complex needs for for supports, complex and carefully coordinated supports. And the other one will be for making changes so that legally responsible individuals could provide specific waiver services ongoing. Um, and then the latter, go ahead. Go
We
ahead.
also have another one that just came out on adult host homes, and that was created by the state legislature, and that session is on September 27th. So that would be in
Mm-hmm.
those e-alerts. So definitely sign up for
Mm-hmm.
e-alerts and keep track of. There's a lot happening, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
new processes and provider types and services being developed, and we really need your connection to
Mm-hmm.
help shape that.
And you can check for e-alerts. You should be signed up, but if you miss one and you want to go back to them, they're always archived. So if we look at September, the newest e-alert, adult host home, this will give a little history of what is, what the little story of how it came to be. It is an additional license type and service for people getting waivers. It is a residential service. And like the light said, it was signed into law by Governor Dunleavy earlier this summer. So we're trying to stand up the rules about becoming an adult host home and what that would look like and who is it for and what's the best, you know, what's the best knowledge to have to get into the adult host home. The purpose of adult host home was an option for people to basically live with a family, something that's different than family habilitation, but hoping to make a simpler option, I guess, to call it for people who are seeking residential care. Um, and it would be quite different than group home or family hab. Would be inclusive of the all the waiver types. Um, and maybe a better fit for some people living with family, or somebody who would be living with people they know in the community or something like that. So, but again, adult host home needs your input. Like Delight said, we need to know what all Alaskans who have an interest in this think, and that's why it's out there. So just know that there's thoughts going on and plans going on about expanding services for the different needs that folks have expressed to the legislators and to SDS and throughout the years as well. So, yeah, we go back to the main page. I suppose I'll go back to that. And our lovely agenda. Okay, some of these things happen so fast, they're not even on our agenda, and bam, there they were. So that's cool. We do wish to share again with you our provider office hour every Thursday from 3 to 4. You can come in and speak with a team member. We tend to, all of us that are on board that day will staff it. So that means you can come to us with case studies and questions of any nature regarding your service to people. We are able to work with protected health information. If you came in and wanted to talk about a particular case and you were going to share private health information, we can create a breakout room for you so that it is encrypted, and you can just share what it is that you're facing, and we can hopefully give you resources and suggestions and maybe other avenues. We are not able to answer every single question, but we're aware of the basic things that might impact it. So we can probably help when we're there every Thursday. So mark it out on your calendar if you can. We also are offering family info share sessions, kind of like this one. The next one is on the 26th. We're focusing on eligibility for this year, this first year of quarterly family info shares. This is so people, individuals and families, and anyone who's interested in knowing, how do I get a waiver? What do I need to qualify for the waiver? What's eligibility for the waiver? What are some other resources? Where to start and things like that. Those are things that we cover in a person-friendly way, not too much jargon and confusion in the system is confusing. I get that, but we are trying to avoid things that would make it not understandable for a family. We want to reach individuals and families with it, so we keep it plain language, and questions are welcome. So people are encouraged to join us by Zoom for that one. We also have another family one that we're doing, which is about support plans. We've ran that one. I think we're going to run that one in December next time. But we're going to stick with just eligibility throughout the rest of this year, and probably into next year. We'll also be covering eligibility and giving basic information about, getting into services. It's been a big need. And then we have our SDS Training Academy, which we're so excited about. It's an online training academy where we're working hard at putting together classes and resources for our provider community. We also we welcome our provider community to join us there for their basic classes that are required in regulation, like critical incident reporting and settings training. We have migrated those from our Google Docs, what we were doing with Google Docs, to our academy. And it's nice because we could do a lot more tracking. We can make sure you get a certificate right when you pass the class. So you can download it right then and there, right out of the system. But our newest classes are Exploring Community First Choice, and that is also known as CFC. You may have heard a lot of folks talking about CFC, or maybe you're a provider of CFC. The training requests for training for CFC were heavy. We had a lot of people wanting to know, including our staff and us, and so we were all able to learn through creating this training. And there's a few, I guess, levels of the engagement with the topic that you can check out: an introductory and level, and then an intermediate level, and then a level for credit for like a care coordinator, someone who's working within our Harmony data system with CFC services. But all are welcome to that. And there is a wonderful new training about documentation. We did get a lot of work requests for training about documentation, documenting the services that we provide. So there's a brand new training in there ready for you about documentation, best practices, regulatory compliance, all the things that you should be informing your approach when you do your documentation. Sorry, my mouse is jumping all over. I moved something and it went, wah. So that is there for you. And another one that's new is called implicit bias training, which is a fun training about bias. And bias is like a set of assumptions, and everyone has bias. So it doesn't matter who you are, everybody has bias, just basically because you're alive and you learn things. And you learn things in a certain way, and you learn things from history, and you learn things from the current, your current environment. We learn things through our family. We have experiences. We base our reactions on them and things like that. There's a whole field of study about bias. So this is a fun training, and it's not difficult. It utilizes the bias tests that are available through Harvard Implicit Bias Project, which are free and extremely confidential, very easy to engage in. And you can go in and you can sign up and do a couple of those tests and just check out the results for yourself. Okay, your results are not, kept or analyzed in any way. You'll get a certificate that says you did it, but you won't have any repercussions or anything like that from the actual result of your bias test. It's strictly a self-reflection so that you can work on your ability to welcome everybody into your services and to help reduce bias within what we do. And we know we serve extremely diverse groups of people in Alaska. We're lucky to have that kind of environment where we have many different kinds of people and styles and cultures and all kinds of diversity. And so we're happy to introduce that training because we feel it's important to know about those things and do some self-reflection, some positive self-reflection and empowering self-reflection. Okay, and also I wanted to, it's not on there, but I'm thinking about our YouTube channel because we have a wonderful new video on our YouTube channel about environmental modifications. So if any of us are curious about environmental modifications, this is another area of heavy request for trainings. I would encourage you to go to our YouTube channel, our training YouTube channel, and try looking around a little bit, and you'll see it. You'll be on our channel when you go to the recording for this video, right? So you'll get a link like that. You can look around on the channel and check it out. We can send you the link. I know that in your service to people and families, if folks are curious about environmental modifications, I would not hesitate to have them check out this video. Okay, so it's good and informative, and we're working on it. Our academy is kind of the repository for all these things, and we're hard at work growing our content base so that you can become more knowledgeable and more empowered in your ability to research and find answers for yourself and people you serve. Hopefully we can support that for you, through what we do. And a shout out to our staff, Delight Mells, Damon Silva, and Cassandra Lynch for their hard work on creating these work products. It's been a journey. And Kat has supported us as well with all that. So we thank you, Kat, too. Absolutely. All
Can
right.
you maybe, Kara, tell us how many users we have in LMS now?
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Our learning management system has, this is where, just so you know, what you do is you go in, if you have not already, you make a username and a password, and you have an account on it. And the account is free. All the trainings are free. Everything in it is free. We just started doing it in, I believe, in March, and today we have 1,068 users. And that would be all of our, providers, and not all of them, but providers, our admins. We're targeting our program admins with this. Care coordinators, our long-term care facility staff, some of our partners out there, like our University of Alaska folks, and different people who support. We just have the Pioneer Home staff, and people who do supports are also in it. All state staff, and many of our external partners are in there. So if you haven't established an account for yourself and you are a program administrator, I would encourage you to do that. And yeah, we're just looking at the internal view of it right now, of course, but that's how I tell how many people are there. But it'll kind of look like that when you're in it. You go in and it'll have a main page that you go to, and you'll see you'll establish a username and a password and things like that. So yeah.
And I'm dropping the link into the chat right now so that you can check it out and sign up if you haven't done so already, which I have a feeling most of you have.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at my questions. Thank you, Delight. Okay.
I don't see any questions. Maybe can you tell us what other trainings you guys are working on or thinking about working on maybe?
Yeah, we can talk about that. We are working on an employment services training. That's one of them.
Yay.
Delight.
I'm working.
Yeah. Another documentation training, which is more focused on keeping accurate documentation for situations where complex behavior collaborative is engaged, something like that. We're working with them. We're working on a restrictive interventions training, and my current list, I'll go back to it. Oops, hang on, sorry. That's boring. Let me find my current list here.
So I was one of the people that worked on the CFC training, and some of you may take the training and be like, I didn't get what I wanted, which is a deep dive into all of the CFC PCS forms. And I'll just be honest with you guys, it's a lot of content just doing an introduction to CFC and all of its flavors because of the levels of care and how it moves through application and all the pieces. So we just kind of did the arc through that process of going all the way from visiting ADRC as a regular Alaskan, just going to ADRC, DDRC, to renewal of your support plan. We did that arc. But there is a big need for care coordinators to get exposure to personal care forms and for personal care agencies too, just to have a deep dive into those forms as far as and some of them are like prom. Does anybody know what prom is? Is it you have to get a date and stuff like that? No, it's a totally different. it's a whole thing for PCS services. So we're planning on doing a deep dive of CFC PCS forms later this year, like in December, January. We'll do a training on that where we look at each one of those forms and go through and talk about what do you need to fill them out accurately, and really to make sure that you're doing appropriate service matches, and what you're requesting makes sense for the person and walking through those processes. So that's another one of our trainings that we're cooking. And I think another
Yeah.
one, Kara, correct me if I'm wrong, we're looking at doing dehabilitation as another deep dive training.
DAHAB and habilitation goals, objectives, and interventions. We're looking at putting, let's see here. I said restrictive intervention, medication errors is another one. New care coordination regulations that are around the new regulations going into effect, which are changes in visits. Basically, there's other changes too, but changes in visits. What else? What else?
Well, I
We
guess
have,
my question for you guys is what kind of, based on what you've just heard, is there any trainings that you feel like you need right now? We just kind of gave you, it takes quite a bit of time to really not just pull together the content, but actually putting it into the academy so that you can access it at any time. So it does take us a while to pull the trainings together. So we are always looking really far ahead at meeting to meet a need. So are there needs that you have that you didn't hear us kind of that touched on something that you know that we didn't cover as we were talking about upcoming trainings? And if you can't think of it on the spot, it's okay. You can always email us at sdstraining@alaska.gov and let us know if there's any training needs that you might have. And in a pinch, you can always come to office hours and we'll just sit down and make sure that we get you the information that you need so that you can get the job done to help Alaskans. Because that's really what we want those office hours for, is if you're encountering a blockage to getting someone help, we need to remove that for you. So come see us because that's our goal. That's really why we have these resources for you.
I don't see any questions yet.
That's okay. It's really nice out. I can imagine people are daydreaming out the window
It
right
is
now.
very distracting. I'm just here looking like, oh, look at the sun. What is that yellow thing in the sky?
there's no
Yeah.
rule that says we have to stay in this training, in this session. I know we schedule it out for an hour, but it's not, we don't have to stay. We have covered
Sometimes
our
we have a
agenda.
lot to share, and sometimes a lot is shared through e-alerts. And I think we have a busy week, the rest of the week, with all the go-to meetings. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe we're just leaving that, we're in a
Mm-hmm.
different place, just leaving that room in their brain for tomorrow and Thursday, not today.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone have questions? Write them in if you do.
One question is there any word on Gainwell not accepting first aid certificates yet?
Hello there. So some of our providers had trouble with the the there's two different kinds of thought around first aid CPR certificates. This is for PCS providers, personal care services providers. First of all, I don't have an update on that right now today at the moment. I mean, we're looking into it. I've passed it along for sure. But we changed our regs hopefully we try to make it easier for providers to get their staff CPR and first aid training over the pandemic. A lot of these things are actually related to what we learned from the pandemic. Like there's several themes here of flexibilities that were put into place in response to the pandemic. So online CPR first aid is accepted in regulation for SDS certification. And so there's an understanding of that. Our regs accept it. And then apparently some of our providers are having trouble with the enrollment piece, which is HMS Gainwell is our fiscal agent for Alaska Medicaid. And they are doing individual enrollment of the PCS worker and a care coordinator. Those are the two like long-term care community providers that are individually enrolled at HMS Gainwell. So HMS Gainwell is looking at the CPR first aid, certificate of completion, and they are looking at it differently than our regs look at it. So this is something that our certification and leadership folks are working on because it's new and it just takes some time to work it out. But if you have that issue, you can definitely email Summer, Summer Wheeler. You could email SDS training at alaska.gov. We're happy to help out. But our certification is also, the main place to communicate that. Yeah, the regulation, you're right. There's a comment that says online training has to be Red Cross or American Heart Association approved as equivalent. Yes, that is in our regulation. It has to be approved as an equivalent to the current training offered by the Red Cross and or American Heart Association. I know American Heart Association offers its own fully online version, which you need to get a supply kit, and they use an app you have to demonstrate, like, basically on a Zoom. I don't know if it's literally Zoom, but you demonstrate life-saving techniques and you're observed by the instructor online. So it's not required to be in person. It's probably where post-pandemic, everybody is sort of changing their ability to do these things. More people know how to do Zoom, more people know how to work with applications on the phone. Applications are being developed left and right. But there's got to be an answer someplace that we do accept those fully online, approved as equivalent by American Heart Association and or Red Cross. And HMS Gainwell, we just have to work out the communications with them. It's a little bit of a corner. It's a huge world. It's a huge issue. It's only surrounding PCS because they're the only individually enrolled direct care provider that has to have CPR first aid. So yeah, I get you. Other questions, thoughts?
I think the only other thing just to kind of keep in mind, guys, is that November 11th date has a lot of impacts for for so many different things. And it really depends on the topic, what it does. So please, as a provider, take a look at the frequently asked questions about what's ending November 11th. That's been circulated out, and reach out if you have questions on what it means to you. If you read it and you're like, what does this mean to me? You think that it could impact you, please connect. It has such wide ranging impacts because it's really how our COVID flexibilities are transitioning out. So it impacts everything from employment services agencies having NCES training requirements, all the way through for certain provide certain legally responsible individuals that provide like specific services. Some of those stop, and a wide variety in between. So we're still a couple of months out from that, but gosh, I don't know about you. Time goes so fast, and we really want to keep you informed of this process, and we don't want to surprise you because it is a lot of information to manage. So just please know that we really want to help you as much as we can with that. So if you get a chance to look that up, and that CPR piece was one of the big questions people had because that was born from this circumstance.
Mm-hmm. Question said, since waiver staff isn't being tracked individually, meaning being individually enrolled, just keep in mind that a lot of times waiver staff also work PCS. So, they're enrolled, and you're right. The whole part about, being enrolled individually is because PCS it's such a special service done in a person's own home, and that the whole responsibilities, there's a lot of responsibility in PCS. So that's why over the years they became to be enrolled individually. But yeah, waiver staff are not individually enrolled. but they still have to have CPR first aid. And yes, they can still do fully online as long as it's, as long as it's an equivalent to the Red Cross and or AHA, American Heart Association. A lot of people ask us, hey, Kara, which is this training online equivalent? Is this training online? We're not going to know that. We need you to connect we need you, the provider, to connect with the training entity and ask them for proof that says that their training is equivalent. And most of them have that. Most of them do. I mean, I guess maybe some don't, but most of the ones that folks have sent to me say, help me, can you check this? You can easily get that from the actual training provider to tell you that. So. Other questions, thoughts? You are welcome.
Well, maybe the rest of this info share time needs to be a cup of your favorite fall beverage out on your outside, wherever you are, your cup of tea, cup of pumpkin spice, whatever, outside. I'm an apple cider person myself, but maybe you need to go take that time and kind of process where you are right now in the grand scheme of this dynamic of work and your life and everything. Take that time. We want you to take care of yourself, because if you take care of yourself, you're able to take care of others. So.
And we'll always be here. You can always email us. If you need a phone call, you can email us and ask for that and say, give us a couple of good times and days to call, and we'll call. We know not everybody can do the Zoom. It's not convenient for everybody, or there's just some kind of circumstances happening where you're like, it's not going to be a Zoom. It's fine. Just reach out and we'll make it happen. Okay. All right. Well, that being said, I'll just say I'll go ahead and close the session. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Join us for these upcoming webinars. It'll be interesting and cool and fun. We'll learn together, and we'll make sure that we support you as best as we can. And thanks for doing what you do.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a great one, everybody. Goodbye for now.